You knew. You knew from week 2 that something was off. Maybe it was the way they made a joke at your expense and then laughed just a little too long. Maybe it was the way they talked about their ex. Maybe it was just a feeling you had and then talked yourself out of because they were charming or they were there, or you just really wanted it to work. And then 2 years passed, or 5, and here you are. So today, no judgment, no list of red flags to memorize, just an honest conversation about why we stay when we already know, and more importantly, how that finally changes. Here's what nobody says out loud. You didn't stay because you were naive. You stayed because it made sense to the story you were already telling about yourself. If you grew up believing that love is earned, that you have to prove your worth, that people leave if you're not enough, then someone inconsistent didn't feel like a red flag. It felt like home. It felt familiar in the worst, most comforting way possible. That's not stupidity. That's the nervous system doing exactly what it was taught to do. It's seeking what it knows even when what it knows is painful. And the cruelest part? The moments they were good, the apology that felt real, the night they held you, those moments didn't erase the bad ones. They made you addicted to the possibility that the good ones could become permanent. Hope is a beautiful thing. But hope inside a pattern that never actually changes, that is where years go. I want you to think about the version of you from before this relationship. Think about how you moved through the world, what you used to be curious about, and what you used to trust about yourself. Because one of the quietest things toxic relationships do is erode your relationship with your own instincts. Every time you said something feels wrong here, and they convinced you that you were imagining things, you learned, slowly, to trust their version of reality over your own. You might have stopped speaking up in other areas of your life. Because when someone repeatedly tells you that your feelings are too big, eventually you start keeping them smaller everywhere. That is the real cost. Not just the time, not just the tears, but the quieting of a self that used to speak up. So how does it actually stop? It stops when you start getting more interested in the pattern than in the person. The question isn't, why did they do that? The question is, why did I accept it the second time, the 5th time, the 15th? Because the answer to that question is where your actual power lives. Notice what happens in the early stages of your connections. Do you feel calm, or do you feel like you're always slightly trying to earn something? Are you relaxed, or are you performing? Healthy doesn't always feel exciting at first. Sometimes it just feels safe. And if safe has always felt boring to you, that's the work. That's where this changes. You're not broken for having stayed. You're not weak for having gone back. You were operating from an older version of yourself, one who learned to love in a language that was never supposed to be yours permanently. The goal now isn't to punish that version of you. The goal is to make choices that the future version of you won't have to recover from. You get to rewrite this. Not in one conversation, not in one week, but in the slow, steady practice of choosing yourself even when it feels unfamiliar, even when it feels lonely. Because here's the truth no one wants to hear. They might change, just not for you. And you don't have to be there to find out. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.